name is Gerhard Gschwandtner and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we have the pleasure of meeting with somebody very special, Friedman, and he is the author of a wonderful new book called Leading the Life You Want. Isn't this kind of Pollyannish that everybody wants to lead their life they want and they can get it?
The interesting paradox of that title is that, and as I described in the conclusion, after writing about these 6 exemplary human beings and how they developed into people of great significance by not sacrificing their families and their communities and their personal lives, but investing in those other parts of their lives, that's what made them successful. Kind of the big idea at the end of these stories and my analysis of the skills that they cultivated to get there is that they did so by taking their passions, their interests, their special gifts, and somehow finding a way to make them useful to other people. So the idea is not to be having what you want because you want it, but rather to be taking what you have and making it useful to other people. That's how, it seems to me, people do indeed lead the lives that they want.
So what you just said is very interesting, where people reach inside and then find the things they need to grow and lead a life that is meaningful. Let's take Michelle Obama as a case.
One of the things that becomes very clear when you do a careful study of the lives of people of significance is that each and every one of them cultivated their lives in a sometimes very conscious and other times just very fortunate way, but it was a process of development and trial and error learning throughout life. None of the 6 people who I profile were born with a silver spoon. They had to make themselves into the leaders they became, and they did so in the way that I see it, by following these 3 principles of being real, knowing what mattered most to them, being whole, recognizing that there are these different parts of life that matter, not just your work or career or school, but your family, your community, and your private self, your mind, body, and spirit, and then being innovative, continually experimenting with ways of getting things done that help you to better align what you care about with what you do. And her story is especially interesting, I think, because of what she did throughout her life to find creative ways to do what really mattered to her. So when she was at Princeton as an undergrad, feeling out of context, as a young black woman in a pretty traditional collegiate environment, she had to find her identity. And one of the ways she did that was to write in her senior thesis about the experience of integrating, as a minority, into a predominantly a white world, and to use those ideas to help her, shape her actions. I think, though, my favorite part of her story, though, is what she's done since becoming First Lady. I mean, not only in joining forces and Let's Move and the incredible impact that those initiatives have had in helping the lives of millions of Americans, really. She's also been quite a model, I think, a contemporary model of, a member of a family that has shown how to create boundaries, meaningful, flexible boundaries between work and family and the other parts of life. And her way of doing that has been very public, and I think many people have been inspired by her commitment to both her husband's impact on the world as president, but also in trying to create a home environment in which her girls could grow up in a way that was meaningful and wholesome for them.
So when you write a book like this, where you study the developmental arc of a person, you also bring in your own curiosity and you extrapolate how does that compare to my life. What have you learned about yourself in the exploration of those successful people?
Try to be kinder. And that captured really well for me the essence of what these people have done. And what I have rediscovered as I try to continually rediscover, it seems to me, on a daily basis, and that is this essential idea that the more you invest your heart, your mind, your talents in the service of other people, the more meaningful and ultimately the more successful your life.
Can we dive into a street principle very quickly, and can you distinguish what is being real versus what is being not real?
So the idea that you are as close to being aligned with your words as with your deeds. That's to me the essence of it. And are you consistent in the values that you represent with your actions in the different parts of your life? And so we have an exercise. It's actually a free online resource where anybody can do this, called my4circles.com, where you can draw the picture of the 4 domains of work, home, community, and self, and size them according to how important they are. And then click and drag them, or just move them on your screen if you have a touch screen, to show if they overlap or not. And the overlap represents the alignment of values. So the person who you are when you're alone, when you're out for a walk or in quiet moments of repose and reflection, is that what you represent in your work? Just thinking about that question, I have found, helps you to see, well, what does it mean for me to be acting in a way that seems real to me? Real in the sense of being true to who I at least wish to be.
So let's dive into the wholeness. And there's whole foods that is more organic than others. So how can we sort of take that model and be more holistic and tune into our world?
The main idea there is just to think about who are the people who matter to you in the different parts of your life, the people or groups. And it's to think about what is it that they expect of you? What is it, when they look at you, what do they see? And what do they want? And it is amazing how easy it is to delude yourself into believing that what they want is something that you also want. So the key piece of work that's required here to be whole is to first identify who matters most to you and to your future. I call these people your key stakeholders because they have a stake in your future as you define it. And then looking at that social system as a dynamic system that you can influence. But the hardest part of that work is to engage in conversation in which you are relentlessly curious about what really motivates them and what they see when they look at you. I call that taking the leadership leap,
right,
where you put yourself inside of someone else's head and heart and try to see yourself through their eyes. And then looking at, again, the constellation and seeing where is there compatibility among those stakeholder interests. How is what your mother expects of you consistent with what your clients expect from you and what your friends expect of you? And where is there conflict?
So I think the true test of any person is when that whole gets out of alignment through circumstances and when they experience conflicting loyalties, or when they experience disappointment where other people have fallen short in their life and where they feel enraged. So the question is, what can people do when they feel they're less than whole?
What I have seen and what I've learned and what I try to practice is curiosity and real interest in understanding the point of view of other people, and then creativity about trying to resolve conflict, which, as you know, is an art and a craft really that one continues to try to master but never really can,
right,
because it requires a great deal of skill and concentration and just dedication. So I believe it begins with, again, understanding what you stand for and where you're trying to go and the kind of world you're trying to create, and then choosing, to the extent that you can, the people that you invest in,
Right.
the people who matter, and then choosing those people who don't,
Right.
and trying to keep them, at bay.
Right.
But there are constant disappointments and frustrations, of course, in any interdependent relationship, and so the key there is grasp. It's understanding. It's trying to see where there is compatibility. Where is there common ground here?
Right.
To build on that. That's the essence of modern negotiation theory, and that's, I think, the essence of what political negotiators would try to affect, and that is, where's the common ground, and build on that, a shared future.
In order to feel whole, we need to tap into three things. One, into inner resources, and I think in a case of the disappointment, we'll discover very quickly what is important and what is not important. We rediscover our strength. Secondly, if we don't feel whole as a member of society, I think we need to work on our network and connect with people that can make us, or better, that help us become more whole. So if you're not happy with your net worth, change your network.
Yes.
And then I think the third one is on an aspirational level. A lot of people may not think much of their goals, or they may not think big enough, or they constantly engage in self-limiting behaviors.
So one of the critical skills in the Be Real principle is to envision your legacy, and of course to be innovative means first to focus on results and then be flexible and creative about how you pursue them. And indeed, two of the 6 critical skills in the Be Whole piece of this model have to do exactly with what you were saying about building supportive networks and helping others. You have to know what matters. So it's aligning your actions with your values. It's knowing what matters. It's envisioning your legacy. It's being able to release, to challenge the status quo and to see the possibilities for new action. But it does, as you say, start with an aspiration that inspires, that motivates, that energizes, that moves you, that compels you to get up and move.
And everybody has their share of problems, and that's why, it's good to be innovative, because problems are wake-up calls for creativity.
The essential work that that I ask people to do, the starting point is all diagnostic, right? It's what matters. Where are you investing your attention? Who matters? What do they need? And where are the gaps? And they become very apparent when you do this kind of analysis. And the really good news that I've discovered is that no matter how constrained your world might seem, there's always some room, even if it's really highly constrained and really very small. There's always some room for movement. And indeed, part of the philosophical core of this approach is what Viktor Frankl, the great European psychiatrist who lived through the Holocaust, to write about it and to develop a psychology of meaning.
Right.
The essence of his idea is wherever you can find a way to be helpful to other people, that's the key to survival. And so that's how the people who I profile in this book seem to approach their lives, and I think there's a lot of lessons in that for all of us.
That's why I'm so optimistic about the internet, because it is a tool that connects 7 billion people, where we all can engage in a collective reconstruction project to create a better world, and a more aware world, a world that's more whole, that's more meaning focused, because we have been so misaligned for centuries.
I harbor similar hopes, so long as we use it wisely.
And as a leader, you are a merchant of hope, and I think this book is a leadership tool. It's a wonderful self-leadership tool.
That's how I think of it too, and I'm glad you feel that way, Gerhard.